Hello and welcome. This is certainly not anything we've ever done before. So we're going to give it a try in this new reality that we're living in. I think it's important for us to try to connect. I know I've missed our members and I've missed our programs. And with the weather getting nicer, I think it's a great time to connect in whatever way we can. So we will be recording this program and we'll have it available on our website. I think we'll be able to get it out there. Or I can email links. So if anyone wants to look at it later, couldn't make it tonight, we'll have it recorded. So yeah, this year's been pretty crazy so far. And one thing I realize is that the only thing that is constant, maybe not the only thing, but a big thing is that nature's constant. We have spring coming. We have, the bloodroot came up, bloomed and is done blooming. We've got Virginia bluebells. The service berries are just beautiful. So those are constants. And I think we need to grab onto that so that we can feel some stability in our lives, as well as a connection. So we're going to give this a try. Let's see, I'm going to keep this really, really brief. So again, if you want to send pictures of pulling it, all the bags, we can share that wonderful experience of making it die. Second thing is, let's see, we have another member, Peter Dargitz, who is a kindergarten teacher, and he is planting a prairie area. He's trying to restore a woodland area, and he's unfortunately spent his whole budget for the year and was wondering if there might be some woodland plants that could be donated to the school. He's over in town of Lisbon at the elementary school. So if anybody would like to share some plants, shoot an email to me and we can connect. The school is also the organization that we're going to donate a tree to. Jeff Kent, if you remember, did a program way back in February on trees, and he very generously donated his speaker fee to planting a tree. So that's the plan at some point in time here. So speaking of trees, good news. And if you haven't seen my emails, the plant sale is on. It's going to look a little different. We're going to try to really encourage very strict safety methods. Johnson's Nursery is marking express checkout lanes with 6-foot markers. And I'm sorry, my glasses keep fogging up here, but we are going to have volunteers wear masks. We're going to practice social distancing, and we're going to try to keep the hoop houses and the plant areas kind of a one-way traffic flow so that people can minimize exposure. So we hope that you will come and shop the sale. It's the same deal as last year and the year before, 40% off to members. And last year we had it was our best year. So hopefully we can swing that plant sale as we hope to. Certainly everything and anything is subject to change in these days and these times. Last thing, speaking of other stuff, we're going to see how this goes, see where things are at in June for our program. We were scheduled to go to Elmbrook Nature Center. Judy Newman, a fellow member of our chapter, has been instrumental in creating this nature center. She's put seriously heart and soul into it, and it's a really nice spot. It's right by Brookfield High School. So more to come on that. We'll see how things are going, and I'll send out some emails on that. Okay, I think that's all I have to say. Don't need to introduce Jan, but I will introduce Jan Koel. She is past president of Wild Ones and board member emeritus with our chapter, and she's going to talk about propagating plants today, dividing plants, those things that we are all probably doing right at this moment. So Jan, take it away.
Hello, my friends. I miss you all. Tonight I'm going to do a program on plant division. I'm going to start out with cardinal flower, Lobelia cardinalis. These plants I always grow in pots because they like wet feet. And last year in this pot were 5 cardinal flowers. These old stems were the original flowers. So this year I'll be digging each of these out. And you can see where, I'll just break the soil up a little bit around the roots. You can see where the old stem was. You pull this out and there's offsets coming right off the stem. So we just pull the offsets away from the old stem. And this will be the plant that I will be putting in the pot this year. So from one plant, I have 1, 2 old stem, 4 plants. This plant only yields 2. This one only yields 2. This one will have maybe 4 on it. Same thing, just dig it up. They're very forgiving. So you might think you're manhandling them, but they'll survive. They'll forgive you. So, and this one has a 3. I've got a pan of water here just to keep the roots moist because I won't be doing anything more with these tonight. I just wanted to show you how from one plant, from 5 plants, I will have at least a dozen new plants. So some of these I give away and some of them I just transplant into them. Hummingbirds absolutely love this plant. If you plant them, they will come. So for my next project, I have to tell you, it's a little late to do spring divisions. It's a great time to do prairie plants. This is a purple coneflower. I just dug this. Now I could let this grow for a long time and it'd be a great big bush, but sometimes they outgrow their spaces. You might need new plants. So here's the root ball. And you can just take your knife with this, carve it in the middle, and kind of tease it apart. Now I have 2 plants. I can divide this more if I like. And this would be a nice clump too to have. So you can make them in half or you can divide them again and again and you'll have more plants. So I'll put them in the water here. These actually outgrew their space, so I needed to dig them up anyway. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is show you how to divide, and this is a spring flower, spring plant. Let's see. The early meadow rue. John, oh, Lisa, could you hand me my shovel, please? Thank you. Now this plant here has grown in the wrong spot. I recently took a tree down from here, so I'll be changing this garden. I'll also be having a new driveway put in. So this plant has to be moved. So if you check, can you see the roots here? This is a great big mass of early meadow rue. I want to take the whole thing out. So I'm lifting it here. It's too big to handle at once. So I'll divide the roots in the ground and just lift it up here. Oh, I have nice rich soil. Excuse me while I walk around here, I'm looking for a black wire. So as you can see, this is a large woodland plant already. It's really too late to be doing this to it, but as I said, they're quite forgiving. It's going to be the same situation if I don't want this large of a plant. Just pull it apart, cut through the root mass, and now you have two nice specimens. If you do this at this time of year when there is a lot of leaf surface, remove about 1/3 of the plant. You can just kind of prune it off. I wouldn't remove more than 1/3, but the roots have been severed, so they won't really be able to support this much leaf surface. And it'll come back just fine next spring. You can also tease out, here is a Virginia water leaf that shouldn't be in here. So you can tease that out. Oops, that's not one. Ha! This is one. Right here. I don't want that growing in here in next spring. So, and these will all grow just fine after I plant them. But for now, I want to keep the roots wet. So I'll be putting them in the dirt or in the pot of water. This is very wet soil. Woo! Now the other really big project that I wanted to show you in a situation where the plants have outgrown one another, in here I have a Bainberry. Underneath is a nice little clump of wild ginger, and behind it is the geranium. So you really can't tell any of the forms because they're clustered so close together. So I'll just, you kind of imagine where the root system is and cut it around 2 to 3 inches away. The wild ginger has very shallow roots, so you don't need to go that far down. But because there's a Bainberry with this, I do have to go down. Let's see what comes up. Couldn't stage this. I'll have to go on this side. Can you watch my cord? Please. Let's see if I have this. All right, so I have this loosened, I think. It's okay. There's another root with this, which I'll sever. Okay, this is when you need a good back. Okay, so we have the wild ginger and the bainberry, and I need to separate them. Just pulling them apart. Get my handy little knife. This isn't going to be easy. Just find out where the roots for the bainberry are. And here's the flower for the wild ginger. Can we get a close-up of this, or? Thank you. Sometimes you just have to work from the bottom. Okay, I've got this pretty much freed. Here's a wild ginger clump. You can see that the roots are not very, they don't go down very deep. So when you plant this, you want to make sure that the tops of the roots here are showing a little bit. It just kind of crawls along the top of the ground. And I have more ginger to pull away from the bainberry. And because they're on the surface, you can kind of get your fingers underneath and tease them out. And this is the root system of the wild ginger. Not very much. It's very interesting how they walk. This was the old root from, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and every year they come out a couple more inches. And you wonder how they can clone out so fast, but wild ginger is just notorious for spreading like that. And here's my darling bainberry. Manhandled. And here's the root system. And you can tell it goes down a good 5 inches or so. Ooh, you can smell the ginger. So I'm making a bainberry garden. So this will probably go into that. John, do you have bainberry? You can have this one. Okay, it won't go into my bainberry garden. It's gonna go to John. And I want to show you how to do the wild geranium also, in case you don't know. It has a very shallow root system, also like the wild ginger. It's right here. And here you go out about 2 or 3 inches from the mass. Don't have to go deep. I'll pull this up. And so this is going to be about the same thing. You can tell from it, the soil is so wet I can't break it apart, but the root mass only goes a couple inches down from the surface of the soil. Now to divide this, you can just find a natural division here and just cut right through here. And cutting it in half gives me 2. I can do this again. Pull it apart a little bit. And there I have another plant. This plant mass has been here probably 20 years. Ginger's probably been here 10. And the Bainberry I had just transplanted a couple years ago, but they grew together fast. So I will be open to questions if anybody has questions. I do have a question.
I have a question, Jan. So you trimmed a lot of the leaves away from the meadow rue. You don't do that with the other plants. Is that on purpose, or you just don't need to take away the foliage?
Since this Bainberry is a young plant and I got all the root system, I'm going to have to take, or John's going to have to take care of it and keep it moist. The Bainberry will be okay. I don't know if there's more leaf surface there for the root system, maybe, but I know that will wilt.
Okay.
This one will be okay.
And the geranium, you don't need to.
And the wild geranium, no, the wild geranium is actually on a very woody runner. So this is a wild geranium. It really doesn't need much to survive. It's just got all the storage in this heavy root system. It's probably going to be mad at me for doing this, but I'm not going to kill it. So I could take off some of the larger leaves. I don't think it's necessary at this point if I keep it wet. Good question.
If anyone has a question out there, turn your camera on if you can, or just unmute your microphone. I'll need to mute us on this side before we take the question.
Oh, we did this a half hour.
I have a question.
Who was that?
This is Carolyn Larkin. Hi, Jan.
Hold on just a second, Carolyn.
Sure.
I think you can't hear that, can you?
I did not hear it.
Let's see. Hold on just a second. I'm going to give her my
Sure.
headphones.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hey, Jan. Your yard looks great.
Oh, it's getting there, thanks. How are you doing?
Good. So my Virginia bluebells are almost finished blooming. Can I move them now, or when can I move them?
Right now, the Virginia bluebells are feeding their root system for the ones that are going to be growing next year.
Uh-huh.
Wait until they die. Stake them now, and then wait until they die back.
Okay.
And dig them up after they're dormant. Or when you see that the leaves are turning real yellow, because they'll turn yellow
Uh-huh.
before they die back. By then, they've finished feeding that root system. So you could do it then if you want. But I wouldn't do them while
Okay.
they're flowering or while they're green.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
All
beautiful
right.
right now.
Yeah, they're great. Thanks.
Mhm. You're welcome. Good question. Any other questions?
So I have another one.
Lisa's got a question for me.
Yeah, so you said it's not really optimal time
exactly 6 feet, but
to, oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, totally forgot. You said it's not optimal time for dividing. What is the best time for some of these plants that you did today?
As soon as you see the spring floral coming up, that's usually the best time. What happens is all those little hair roots that have grown over the year, those will all die back and make room for the older, larger root systems. So if you can dig those out before new hair roots are growing, you'll have a plant that's not going to go into shock after transplant. The other, in this case, for most of these plants, if I would have dug them out a month ago, that would have been the best time. Right now, it's a good time to do your summer perennials. You could dig out and divide the bottle gentian at this point. Like I did the purple coneflower, that's pretty lush already. So this is about the optimal time for prairie plants. In late fall bloomers, your asters, it's perfect for dividing and transplanting asters.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from anybody?
Well, I have another one if no one does.
Okay, Lisa's just full of them.
I'm full of it, that's right. So Jan, I have a lot of goldenrod in the yard, as you know, and I'd like to start cutting it to try to discourage it, but you know, if there's asters mixed in there, am I cutting off all the flowers if I, you know, do a couple of kind of like a mow type thing, or using a trimmer?
Okay. Let's see, what I would do is, see, the deer are foraged on all these plants, and they have taught me that it's okay to cut those asters back, and the goldenrods, if they get ruined or whatever, they'll still have a flowering period in the late summer.
Okay.
A lot of people will cut their New England aster in about a third of the plant height in the end of June or so, and then the New England asters won't be 4 or 5 feet tall. They'll be 3 feet tall or so. So you cut them back a little bit.
But they'll still bloom.
But they will still bloom
Okay,
in
wonderful.
September, October.
Awesome. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Good news.
Thank
you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm Bud, but I'm really Kathy.
Okay, Kathy, hi.
Hi. Most of the things that I'm growing are very dry and on our berm, and they're just starting to come up now. So if I was to split them, it would be good now or wait until they're larger. before I'd split them and replant them.
If you can identify those, Kathy, and you know what you're dealing with, now would be the perfect time to do it. The earlier, the better, because then you have less disturbance of the root system. They're already starting to grow those hair roots, and it's more ideal if you can get that before all those hair roots grow and your plant won't go into shock. So
Okay,
the earlier the better with those plants.
The only one that's really visual is the prairie smoke. The rest of them are just starting actually to peak. And I think it's because they're on a dry berm.
They're on a dry berm. With prairie smoke, are they starting to flower?
Oh, yes.
I thought so. I wouldn't divide them now. I would wait till they start to go dormant. I would wait for a while, unless, you know, if you really want to, take as much soil with it so that you get all those hair roots. And
so that would be better in the fall?
That would probably be, let's see, August. When they start to die back. And
so
stake them now.
Okay.
Stake them now so that they're marked, because everything's going to grow over them, probably. And so that you'll be able to find them when they start to go dormant.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. But if you want to do it now, take a lot of dirt with them, and then you'll have to just keep them watered until they've recovered and haven't wilted. But anytime something is flowering right, like at that time, if you do the transplant, you almost always have to cut it back, because that flowering takes so much energy out of that root system, and that root system needs to be fed in order to overwinter.
So that would be the same with cone flowers and everything. Never, if they're only peaking and there's no flower, I might split them, but if I didn't split them now, I'd wait until after they flower.
I would definitely.
Okay.
With coneflowers, I mean, people dig those all the time, and they're very hardy. They've got a really nice hard root system. I would still cut them back though if they're too lush. You know, if they're starting to have the flowering stems on, I would cut that flowering stem off.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just want to show you a book that I use for plant propagation. It's one of my oldest reference books. It was printed in 1978, about the time when I started to get my botany degree. It's plant division. It goes through all the types of propagation that you can do with, from shrubs to annuals, perennials, even trees. So it's just a really handy reference book. If you can still find it, it's worth getting. 78, I paid $8 for it. So, but you might be able to find it yet. Plant propagation. And this is an English book. I don't know, it was made in like Westchester or something like that. Anyway, good reference book. Shall we close the meeting? Are there any more questions? So,
Jan, I have
yes. Okay.
This is Diane Holmes. Hi.
Hi.
I got some fig wort. Hi, you look great.
Thank you. With my
I got some. Yeah. I got some fig wort from Prairie Nursery.
Okay.
And when I got it, it's really spindly and flopping over. Should I just plant it like that, or do you think I should cut it way back? Or it's about they're all about 8 inches tall, but they're really spindly.
Do you know how many nodes are on the stem where the leaves come out?
I think 2. I mean, well, like 2 sets. Generally 2 sets, and there's a top, but the top is almost, yeah. They don't look real good, but I'm wondering, should I just plant them the way they are?
You know, I would cut them back to the first or second node. I top them because that's going to be a late bloomer. That's a later bloomer. It won't hurt to get cut back, and it'll have a better chance of surviving.
Okay, I'll give it a try. I don't know. I never heard of them before. I just saw them and I thought, it sounded kind of neat.
It's also called pilewort.
Thank you. Oh, really?
Yes. It's for hemorrhoids. Used for hemorrhoids.
Keep that in mind.
Okay. I'm a master herbalist, so I get to say those things. Okay. Thanks, Diane. Hi, Jim. If he's watching. Well, then.
He's in the other room.
Oh, I have one more question.
Okay.
I had bought some prairie blazing stars last year.
All right.
And we put them in, and they got very large. They fell over, and they just almost uprooted. I'm not seeing them coming this year. So if I should buy them again, would it be better to cut it down and get the root system going rather than letting the flower get real large?
Well, Liatris is a little bit different. Do you know that you're looking for what seems to be grass at this point?
Well, when they fell over, it's almost like the roots seem to come out of the ground. So I kind of packed it back down.
Yeah.
Maybe at that time I should have cut the flower off. But
yeah.
The area where they were put in, there's absolutely nothing there.
Oh, okay. Because I've noticed that mine are just starting to show, and they're just little pieces of they look like little pieces of grass. There's not much to look at. If it's a cooler spot, they might be later, but they're not really showing yet. They've got a real hardy root system, so I can't see that would cause them to die. There's species of Liatris, if you really like Liatris, that are shorter. Let's see, Liatris. Pycnostachya, I believe, is a shorter version than rough. Rough is tall, but I've got the Pycnostachya, and I don't have the flowers falling over because it's a shorter species. So if you do buy them, look for a species that's smaller, and otherwise you need to plant them. Let's see, maybe the wind just blew them over. It could have been a freak thing last year.
Do animals like the roots?
Oh.
That was my other question. It was hard to tell if something dug under them or if they just fell over because they were heavy.
Yeah. Well, if they haven't been established that long, you could have them pulling the roots over if it was real tall.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well.
Hey, good luck with that.
I
wouldn't give up yet. We've had a late spring with some of the plants that they still might appear.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any more questions? I will be closing the meeting then. Lisa lost her dog. So Bella is wandering around somewhere, and I want to thank you all for coming into our Zoom meeting, and I hope we can get back to normal real soon. I love you all and I miss you. And happy planting, happy digging. Bye-bye.